listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, hosted by Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, where he features successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey, I'm Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, and you're listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, where we feature successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. This episode is brought to you by Esq.Marketing. We help law firms generate more clients and cases using paid and organic search. And speaking of successful law firms, today I have the pleasure of speaking with Ann Thayer, attorney and founder of Ann Thayer, PLLC. In addition to her years of experience in the law, Ann has served as co-chair of the Juvenile and Domestic Relations District Court for 2 years. She is also a founding member of two DUI defense organizations, the DUIDLA and NCDD, organizations whose goals are to help attorneys protect the rights of their clients in DUI-related cases. And it's an honor to have you on the show.
Hey, how are you? I'm just the founder of DUIDLA. I wasn't a founding member of NCDD, but I am.
Oh my gosh, I got that wrong.
I remember. I don't want to take credit for something I didn't do.
No worries. I think it says that on your website. But
Okay.
Maybe I read it wrong.
I am the founding one for DUIDLA, but I'll have to double check. Thanks. If that's wrong, I'll make sure I get it fixed.
Oh yeah, no worries. So the DUIDLA, I read like a snippet about it just so that I could say it on here, but what is that all about? Is that like an organization of attorneys or?
Yeah, so there's two different organizations. The National College for DUI Defense has been around for a really long time. And when I started with the firm back in 2007, my boss got me involved in that, and they're dedicated to all of DUI defense. So they sponsor a lot of seminars throughout the year, and all targeting DUI defense. DUIDLA is a DUI Defense Lawyers Association. A lot of those founding members and people that started that organization originally were part of NCDD and kind of split off.
Okay.
So they started that organization back in 2014, and I'm one of the founding members of that organization. I still participate in both organizations. They both do a lot of seminars. We just had the DUIDLA seminar last week. It was virtual. It was supposed to be in Austin, Texas, but Austin was shut down with a lot of things for bigger groups. So they did it virtually, which was interesting. They did it all over Zoom, and
that's cool. Very cool.
New experience.
Yeah, very neat. Cool. So my first question, I wanted you to kind of just take me back to the beginning. I looked through your LinkedIn profile. It looks like you've worked for a lot of law firms. You were a public defender or worked in the public defender's office for a little bit. But take me back to the beginning of your journey as a lawyer and how you kind of got to where you are today.
Well, my dad was a police detective, so I always kind of was interested in criminal law. And when I first started out and passed the bar, I took the first job I found, which was as a public defender. I actually did a lot of juvenile defense and domestic assault cases there, and I really enjoyed it. The main issue was it just didn't pay much. You have student loans, you have bills, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I was there almost 2 years and then went into private practice for a firm. And he did a lot of DUI cases and got me trained in things on the field testing and breath testing. So I did that. I really liked working for him, but it was back around 2008 when we had that recession. We just weren't busy, and I felt like he was going to have to let me go. So I started looking for another opportunity and found another firm that was out of DC and Maryland that was starting in Virginia. And I was their sole attorney for a while. They now have a much bigger presence in Virginia than they did back when I was with them. And after being with them a couple years, I found a law partner, joined up with her. She already had her firm set up. I was 50-50 partner with her for eight years.
Very cool.
And I'd been wanting to leave for kind of almost as soon as I was with her, but it's one of those things you're scared to go out on your own and do it by yourself. And,
yeah, I know how that feels.
I finally kind of forced myself to take the leap last year to get it going. And of course I did that in pandemic time. So, but it's been okay so far. For being a brand new firm in a pandemic, I think I'm doing okay.
Wait a minute. So you just launched like right before the pandemic hit?
I launched my firm February 1st.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I thought you had been practicing for a couple of years already.
I've been practicing 16
well,
years.
I'm sorry, with your firm that you started.
No, my own firm opened February 1st. So
that's so crazy.
if I can get through this year, I'm good, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you can found a company, no matter what it is, at the beginning of a pandemic and still be alive, as it's getting a little bit better, then I think you're good to go long term. This is like the worst climate to start a business in ever.
It is, but I've been doing okay. I work with all the court committees. So because I'm on those committees over the COVID, when the courts were closing and doing different things, I knew how to get cases into court from being on those committees. So I was able to resolve some things that might otherwise not have been resolved that quickly, just to kind of push things through, or to get my clients earlier court dates and things like that, just from being on those committees. That's why I do that. It's a lot of time to invest in those, but it helps me to help my clients. So that's my main, is just to keep informed on what's going on.
I've spoken with some other attorneys and they've really had to adjust their strategy for meeting with clients or attracting new clients or getting clients to actually do consultations with them because they may be afraid to come into the office in person. And have you noticed that at all, or is that is there a learning curve to having to do that?
That hasn't really changed too much for me. I would say over the last 10 to 12 years, I've been really good at talking to people over the phone. If people really want to come in person, I would make that happen. I've tried to limit that a little bit more because being a sole practitioner now, I'm kind of all over the place. So it's a lot easier for me to do a phone call or even a video than it is to wait on someone to come into the office and things like that, or to get back from court in time to meet somebody. So I've tried to target that more, even outside of COVID, with being more open to video and things and getting more things done. So COVID kind of set into that a little bit. I haven't had too much of an issue with that.
That's good to hear.
And then being a small firm, like I don't want to have to worry about cleaning and having people in and out and things like that. So I think virtually I've tried to adjust as much as I can with phone call. My clients get my number, my cell, and my email and all that anyway. So I'm pretty open with my clients and people calling in. So that hasn't hurt me too much in terms of attracting clients. It's hard to know with my marketing steps what's worked and what hasn't, because in the middle of a pandemic and there's some other criminal changes too. So there's so much going on right now. I don't know what's the cause of what's working or not working.
It can be nebulous. So Ann, a lot of attorneys are hungry, obviously, when they start their own firm. And like you said, there might be some apprehension about generating business. How are you out there hustling to get cases?
I wouldn't say I'm hustling necessarily, but like I said, I work
maybe
on
bad phrase.
Well, no. But for criminal, like if I see something going on, like there were some things that happened at the courthouse recently with the marijuana cases, and I was able to step in, and I didn't make any money off that, but I was able to hand out some cards and help some kids with the prosecutors getting rid of marijuana cases. And then they weren't, like they'd sent letters out to them and then they weren't getting dismissed, and it was a big issue. So we were able to kind of get that stuff fixed. I saw a girl the other day that was about to go in front of a really bad substitute judge on a 90-something reckless. And I was like, you're going to go to jail. I'm like, don't do it. And the judge tried to warn her and she wasn't listening. And I guess her mom finally was like, hey, listen to her. So they ended up hiring. So just stuff like that, where you're not, like, I didn't even hand out my card. She came later and found me and asked me for it. I just didn't want her to get screwed and have to go to jail, So I guess that's kind of my hustle. And then I do a lot of social media posting, like my Facebook, my Instagram, like just trying to, I use a lot of funny memes and to kind of spin it into criminal and traffic stuff, just to kind of educate people on what's going on in Virginia and get feedback. And so that I've gotten some things from that too. So I guess that's kind of my hustle.
I'm a huge meme fan. I love memes. The first thing you said though is pretty cool, because it sounds like, I've always thought that the most successful, lawyers or business owners or whoever are those that are passionate about their work. And that kind of comes through in what you're saying, that you're really passionate about helping people and you're kind of just there, seeing what you can do. And maybe it sounds like that's playing into helping you get new business too.
It has. And I do a lot of protective orders, which have been huge right now with like the pandemic and things, that people are kind of in a tough situation with those cases, either not having somewhere to go if it's on the petitioner side, or the defense side when they can't come back to their home and they're not able to get a hotel. And it's been there's been a lot of that right now with families and people stuck so much together. And a lot of animal dog bite cases. I guess animals are getting just as restless and anxious as their owners. So I feel like there's been a huge amount of those cases coming through too, more than it used to be. So some of the things I've already been doing in my past practice, COVID didn't really affect that a little bit. My DUI stuff, I haven't been doing as much. There haven't been as many in my mind in terms of DUI cases. People just haven't been out and about, bars being closed, things like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And
from speaking with you before, you had mentioned that you like to do, or you like to focus on juvenile cases. Was there a conscious decision to kind of focus on that area, or?
I'm the oldest of 6, so I've always been around kids. I have a lot of nieces and nephews and things. I believe, like, when I first started out as a public defender, I did a lot of juvenile cases. So the juvenile code is a little bit different than the adult statutes, and it gives us more creativity and ways to help kids. So I like to kind of help steer them back in the right direction and get them the services and treatment and things that they need, so we don't have to see them back in the courts, or they don't have to go to detention. So I feel like if you can help make a difference with them early on, it can keep them coming back. And that's where my passion is a little bit, because I think people forget that they have the same constitutional rights and things that an adult does. You know, parents get mad at me if they say, why are you going to talk to my kid by themselves? And I say, because they're entitled to attorney-client privilege. It doesn't matter that you hired me, and I'm going to fight for them the same as I would an adult. I just want to give them a better chance, you know.
That is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where my heart is, but not as many of them lately. I think kids have been laying low a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like with everything, people have just been staying inside, and maybe there's less of that going on. But that's really neat that you're able to, I totally agree. Like, so I have 5 kids too. And my oldest is 14 and, or not 2. I know you said you were oldest of 6.
Yeah, I was going to say, whoa.
But my oldest is 14, and God, your life just changes when you have kids, and you probably feel the same way having younger siblings, seeing that, how they grow up, how they start, how they grow up. And you just really look at people differently. And,
I would say that my younger siblings had it way different than myself and my older ones. It's like your parents kind of learn. And I have a good friend,
Totally.
His son just got his driver's license, and he posted it. He was on Facebook post the other day. He's like, oh, I'm following my son. He's like, I'm like freaking out. And I was like, well, don't forget to call me if there's tickets. And then some of his friends started popping up. They're like, oh, you do those? And I was just teasing him to make sure his son knows not to speed and things like that. And
you're the cool lawyer aunt.
Yeah. That's
awesome. So that's cool that you're able to help kids out because they are still kids at that point. I mean, they're not, it really bugs me when I see, like headlines where kids have committed a crime, even serious crimes, and they're being charged as adults, or they're, being dragged through the court system. And it's like,
I've had a couple of those, and they went differently. I had 2 kids kind of similar, not similar circumstances, but one that got involved with another kid and committed a pretty serious offense. I felt like he should have stayed in juvenile court. He was like honest, like cooperative, like was completely remorseful. And they just were like, no, this is too serious. We're sending him up to adult court. And they wanted a prison sentence. And the judge was like, no, I'm not doing that. He won't make it there. He's like, I'm going to treat him I'm going to sentence him under the juvenile stuff and give him a chance. So even though he has a permanent felony violent adult conviction, like he didn't have to do the several years he was really facing. And then I had another kid, same type of charges, and they were really pushing for him to have that kind of stuff. And finally I pushed and finally they just didn't have the evidence on him. He really wasn't the one involved, and they finally figured all that out, got it situated, and luckily his case went away. And I had substituted in on that. His attorney had been trying to push him into a felony plea, and they were just like, but I didn't do it. And, I finally got involved. It all went away. And he just sent me an email. That was back in March. And he just sent me an email about a month ago and said, I just want to thank you, because I wouldn't be here with my family having dinner right now. And it just made me feel good. And I was like, wow. I was like, it's kind of stuff.
You're changing people's lives. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's so great. So almost every lawyer I talk to, there's like someone in their life, professor, a first boss, something like that, where they've been a major influence in their life or in the direction they've taken. For you, who's been a mentor on your journey to, starting your law firm and doing the things that you're doing now?
I've had there's been a couple different pushes with that. So my boyfriend and family and friends have always been pushing me, why aren't you doing this on your own? That sort of thing. You had that kind of behind the scenes. And then what really finally was the final push for me is I attended 2 seminars actually a year ago. One was in San Diego for the DUI-DLA conference, where I have several different attorney DUI friends throughout the nation. And the other one was the CRISP video marketing summit that they do. And I was at that last year with some other, I also met one of them through the DUI organizations, and then his buddy who does personal injury. So we were all kind of there together. And they really, between the 2 conferences and the friends I had at those conferences, they were like, look, why aren't you going out on your own? Quit like dealing with your partner. They're like, go do this. And so those 2 things and them pushing me, they kind of like, I wouldn't say it was a bet, but they were like, you're never going to do it. And I was like, I can do it. And so it just got me going. And it was kind of that first step. I was like, I'm going to prove them wrong. I can do this. And so then I had a couple things happen with my old partner that was just kind of the last that last push that you're like, you know what, I got to do this on my own. And so I did it. So
Nice.
I would say the different attorney friends I've had, my dad was always a good influence. He passed away several years ago. But my family and friends, like, people just look up to you. They push you to say, hey, my mom always saying, hey, I want to see your name on a firm, those kind of things, or what the push was to do it. That's
really cool. Yeah, I know the peer pressure sort of thing and the competition can be really powerful in a good way when you need that extra push. So yeah, that's a really neat story. So if there are new attorneys out there, that's primarily our audience. What piece of advice would you give them if they're kind of in the same boat? Like, maybe they're working with a partner, or maybe they're working at another firm and they're thinking, man, I got to get out on my own, but I don't know if I can do it. What piece of advice would you have for them?
I mean, there's two components to that. Like, one is the business side of things, which is the marketing and advertising and seeing how you're going to go in that direction. And the other is making sure you learn and understand how to handle the cases you're going to handle. Because we see a lot of new attorneys out there doing things with cases that we're like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? And when we see that, we try to mentor people and say, hey, this is really how you should do it. You really need to have people you can ask questions of. I just had lunch today with a group of people that work with me on the committees and things, and we talk about our cases and throw out questions. We'll message each other and say, hey, do you know the case for, whatever? And like, you really need that group of people to rely on that can help you, because you can't do everything. And sometimes someone
like
else
a support system.
Yeah, you need that. And so you need to find that. And then in terms of going out on your own, you need to have a plan. Like, the bar has a lot of checklists. That's what I did. I researched the ethic parts of things. I researched the checklist on what you need to do. I tried to keep my office expenses down, like my actual startup with furniture and stuff. I got a lot of used furniture and things, but it looks really nice. I spent some time searching for things. And I tried to keep my actual office stuff down and then spend more on marketing and advertising, because I knew with it being a new firm, I wanted to come out strong and be competitive and start getting cases. I brought a lot of cases with me from my old firm. Your clients get to choose where they want to go.
Oh,
and
cool.
They all came with me. So I had a little bit of startup. And then I got the website going a couple months before I was ready to leave. I talked with my partner back in December. We decided on the end of January, termination date kind of thing, to wrap up a lot of things. And then I was ready to go February 1st. So
that's great advice. Yeah. I've heard that from a few people that I've asked that question of, where they talk about having a plan. And I think it's just so important to have at least a rough idea of what you're going to do, if not something written down on paper where, I'm going to take this step by this timeline, or this step by this date, and having it all worked out. So that's great advice.
Yeah, if you're guessing, you can go hang your shingle and just go out without a plan, but that wasn't, I'm kind of more of a planner. So.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of businesses fail in the United States, is because people, they're technicians trying to become business owners. I don't know if you've ever read the book, The E-Myth Revisited. It's a lot about starting a business and starting a mature business. But anyway, one story he tells in that book is why a lot of businesses fail. And I think it's because a lot of people go out without a plan. And they're technicians, they're good at doing, one thing. And then they try to make a business out of it, but they don't really realize all these other things that go along with owning a business, all the, all the accounting related work, all the marketing related work, all the sales related work, all the administrative related work, aside from, the actual service that they're delivering. So it's cool that you were able to do that successfully.
I will tell you, people, that's one of the things I'm having to learn is my last partner and I, we were 50-50. We each did a little bit of everything. Like, I did a lot more of the marketing and advertising and things. So having to do the books, making payments for bills, accounting stuff, doing all your case files, talking to new people, deciding on your marketing things, staying up to date on your continuing legal education, being involved in the committees. You kind of have to space it out and budget your time a little bit.
Yeah, you quickly realize, not only what you're good at and what you're not, but what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And there's Ann Thayer CEO, and then there's Ann Thayer accountant, and Ann Thayer marketing person, and Ann Thayer sales representative, and whatever. And then I think you can pick out what you can delegate first. Like, oh, I hate doing this. When I get enough money, I'm going to hire a person to do this.
I've also learned too, like I was working really, really like 18, 19, 20 hours, for a few months there. And then finally I was like, I can't keep doing this. So now I try to make a list every day. I'm like, okay, this is what I got to get done today. This is what I'd like to get done. And if I have time, I'll finish these things. And I try to give myself a cutoff time so that I'm not here till 10, 11, you know what I mean? I want you some balance with those things too. So I try to just take care of whatever is really priority for that day. And then fit in whatever other things I can, because you always have new things that pop up, whether it's a new console or stuff from the committees that I'm working on, those type things. So.
Yeah. Yep. Great advice. Guys, we've been listening to Ann Thayer, founder of Ann Thayer PLLC. And where can people go to learn more about your firm?
So you can go to a few places. I have a website, which is, it's the ThayerNovaLaw.com. So it's my last name and then Nova for Northern Virginia law.com. I'm also on Facebook under the Law Office of Ann Thayer. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, a little bit on Twitter. And I also have some YouTube videos that I've been filming to educate people about different parts of Virginia law and things. So I'm out there a lot, try to educate people as much as I can. I do free consults for all the cases that I handle to make sure I can answer your questions, that I'm the right fit for you, that sort of thing. Gives us each a chance to figure that out and make sure I can actually help you. And then once you hire me, we'll get started with the actual cases. So you can find me on any of those places.
Sounds good. Thanks for being on the show, Ann. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the ESQ Marketing Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.